Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Hightop Sports Recruiting. We're back. This show is powered by Best Bet, our sponsor. Link is in the description. Go ahead, check them out. If you're in for some games, we're going to do a little bit of Best Bet later. We're going to do a live gambling spot here in about 10, 15 minutes. But this show is powered by our wonderful sponsors, Best Bet. Let's go ahead and let's get Jason in here. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about here. OU freshman class, where I was right, where I was wrong. I was right a lot. What do you think?
You always are there, Professor. You always are. So, nice freshman class for this Oklahoma Sooner team. I think some of these guys are going to make a bigger impact in year one than a lot of people were expecting them to do so. Exciting time around Norman.
For sure. Let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. The freshman class 2024. Let's go offense. Now, Taylor Tatum. We're going to do each individual. We'll flip the camera back and forth. Let's go talk about Taylor Tatum, 4-star, #1 running back in the nation, 48 nationally. I don't know how he wasn't a 5-star. These are off of 247, so don't kill me if they're wrong. 5'10", 205 out of Texas. Now, you got Sawchuk there. You got some other backs. Do you think he can make a make a run at that starting position, or is he going to be a second down guy, or work him in on scrub time, or is he going to be a guy that if somebody gets hurt like in the past?
I don't know what's going on here, but I'm sorry.
You're ringing. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. And I had it. Thought it was off. I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
listen. As far as Taylor's concerned, I tell you, he didn't get into Norman until the summertime. So, generally speaking, when you have a freshman that you expect to come in and make an impact early on, they're one of those early enrollees. They get there in January. They have spring there. Taylor didn't show up until the summertime, and really he has day after day, he's continued to kind of show that he's going to make some kind of an impact. Now, obviously, when you've got guys like Gavin Sawchuk, and Javonte Barnes, you've got some guys in there that are upperclassmen. They've been through a Schmitty workout session and all that kind of stuff. These guys are more ready to go, but Taylor Tatum is one of those guys that's just a little bit different, and he can also affect the offense in different ways. I would tell you that whether it be in the slot or running the ball, I don't expect him to really be a starter right out of the gate. But I would think that as the year goes on, from what we're hearing out of camp, he's making an impact in so many ways that if he really gets that opportunity, if you don't stay healthy, being Gavin Sawchuk, Javonte Barnes, he starts getting those starter reps, he's probably never going to give them back. That's a lot of times that's what you feel like is going to happen. So to me, I feel like myself watching his film, and I think when you talked about this before, he just erased. And I mean, when you start looking at Texas high school 6A football, it's one of the toughest and most competitive leagues in the country. If there's a better one, maybe the Trinity League. But I would say all you have to do is he's so smooth, but he hits the hole quick, and he just kind of erases any kind of angle that you may have on him. He's a special kind of player. Josh McCuistion from On3 Sooner Scoop, and he's one of the better guys around there for as far as evaluating talent, has been comparing him, I think, mostly to Joe Mixon, and that's a huge comparison.
I think he catches Oklahoma. I think he catches the ball a little bit better than Joe Mixon does, or maybe used. Possibly. He's going to be used to catch the ball out of the backfield, wheel routes and stuff like that. I think I really like the kid. I was high on him. I mean, it's hard not to be high on the #1 running back in the nation, but
he's a player.
It's one of those guys that just pops off the film. I'm gonna say this. I have to agree with you, and those two, Barnes and Sawchuk, they have to stay healthy. That's kind of been the knack, right? Kind of just getting hemmed up with ankles and hamstrings and little stuff. Just it's not season enders. It's just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
I don't think that Javonte was healthy at any point last year, from the spring on, when he had a minor surgery. They thought he was going to be ready to go. I think he just never really got healthy. I think they stuck him in a couple of times a little earlier than they should have. There were some things that went on in that room last year that were a little befuddling to a lot of people. whether that came from the top down or whatever it was. There, it just seemed like the rotation was a little off, and they were hoping they were going to get more out of him. It was surprised a lot of people that Javonte came back at all because of the fact of how many guys they got coming in. Aside from Taylor Tatum, you've got another freshman in Xavier Robinson from there in the state of Oklahoma. That he's a big kid, and he's actually been apparently showing a lot of pop as well whenever he gets his opportunity. I would tell you that this is a deep room. So yes, you hope that you see more of that. What we saw at the end of the year out of Gavin Sawchuk. He looked great. He 5 straight games of 100 yards plus last year. But there's enough guys in that room that can step up and make an impact that they're going to kind of have to stay healthy at this point. Because if you don't, you're just, they always say, your best ability is availability. You got to be available, or you're going to find yourself kind of the odd man out.
As the great coach Mike Zimmer says, you can't make the club in the tub.
You can't make the club in the tub. I like that. I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah, he's great with those. So I'm gonna say this, and also don't forget about. I know Andy Bass is hurt. The quarterback converted.
Bass.
Yeah, Bass is converted over to running back. He got hurt late with a knee injury, but he's something special too. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the wide receiver. Star-studded wide receiver Zion Kearney. 4-star, 26 in the nation out of wide receivers, 133 nationally, 6'1", 207 out of Texas. What are we hearing about the young wide receiver?
A lot of good things, really. And I think that this is another room that's loaded to the gills. You had Jaden Gibson go out for the season, which was unfortunate because he was starting to look like he was finally going to make that next step and really be the bookend receiver for the other side of Nick Anderson, who was a freshman All-American a year ago. Jaden had I think he had 13 catches, but he had over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns a year ago. When he went down, normally you'd probably be a little concerned about that. In this case, not so much. You've got guys like Zion Kearney, who big guy. He's another big body guy. He's got a lot of speed. You've heard guys from different places around the SEC talk about him, as well as Zion Reagans as well, who's a smaller guy, but lot of speed. This guy in special teams, he could probably make a big impact right now this year. But again, this is where maybe you see some of Zion Kearney. You may not. You've got some guys that haven't gotten a whole lot of run because of that injury. They may get another chances, but I tell you what, he's flashing, and Emmett Jones has proven as a wide receiver coach and recruiter that, man, if there's anybody better in the country that's out recruiting him and getting better guys in that room, it's just that guy out at Ohio State that they talk about all the time. That's about it. So Oklahoma fans are excited about their wide receiver room as well. I know you had up there with Devon Mitchell as well, the tight end room. The tight end room has been a room that was kind of tough for a lot of Oklahoma fans, but I think you've heard Joe John Finley, the co-offensive coordinator, just say he'd never really seen anything like what they had last year as far as injuries were concerned there. With Bauer Sharp coming in and really looking like he's going to be that guy, you may not see a ton of Devon Mitchell early. You've got another transfer coming in, but this is a kid that kind of gives people that those Jermaine Gresham vibes. Big, lanky guy in that position in the tight end room that he can kind of turn it into something else. Obviously, he's got to kind of get his legs underneath him. The truth is, he should have been a 2025 class guy, and he was one of the top 10 guys in that class before he reclassed to come into this season. So anything you get out of him is probably going to be a bonus. They're looking more to him to the future. Eugene Brooks, maybe the same thing. He's a stud, man. But in Bill Bedenbaugh and the way that he's picking up guys through his recruiting, a lot of it you've seen it's those guys you don't really know who they are, but he finds them. The recruiters don't. Eugene Brooks has proven to be if you thought there was a depth problem on that offensive line, think again. You've got another one in Eddie Pierre-Louis who's also another
Track
freshman.
star.
Yeah, the track star, dude. Hey,
Love that kid.
that's some speed for
Brother
a big guy, right?
is NFL offensive lineman, former Florida
Yeah,
offensive lineman.
absolutely. Studs. I mean, again, they're just and these are the guys that are they just kind of scattered all throughout this team. And even Kyle DePuis is in the chat talking about Ivan Carrion, another freshman, big guy that could
Big
come
guy.
in and be 6'6", catches everything. I kind of wondered if they were going to find a
Tight
place for
end?
him in that. No, he's a receiver. It kind of felt
Okay.
like he might end up getting some tight end reps. You haven't heard anything about that so far. And with Jaden Gibson going down, you could probably see him coming in as especially like a red zone threat, maybe. But again, you've got some other guys that's one of the things that OU really doesn't lack in is size at that receiver spot. We were already talking about some of the, you've got some guys coming in through the transfer portal like Deion Burks and stuff like that, but he's not a big guy, but he's a speed guy. Again, you kind of get it all different ways with Oklahoma.
For sure. So with Zion Kearney, do you feel like it's a kid that if injury bug hits again, like Tatum, he's an outside boundary guy. He could probably take some juniors and seniors should be looking over their shoulder saying, this guy's different, because that's what I felt like on the film.
Yeah, absolutely. I love his film as well too, and I think we were watching some of it together that day. But he's one of those guys that you could probably stick in the slot or the outside. I think he's dangerous either place. But
yep,
the fact that there's so much depth around that is the slot seems like it's a little more packed up when you've got guys like, you still have let's see, Braden in there. There's some different guys that you're just got a lot of speed that's coming out of that position. But I do think that Kearney's a guy that you're probably going to see some from. You're just going to see some of those guys. And I would also say that they're still kind of waiting on some guys that are still underclassmen. Maybe redshirt freshmen, whatever. That you're going to get some opportunities out of that. Again, when you look at, if you start thinking about Ivan Carrion, he's got some wheels for being that tall. You know what I mean? And just the way that they play and the way that they compete for those jump balls and stuff like that. It's a good thing to have, because in the SEC, as we all know, you're getting a lot of those 6'2", 6'3" corners that can go up and get those balls too. So you need those guys that can that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and you see a lot of that in the Oklahoma room.
So who is your, even if it's not on this four-man list, and guys, I just pulled the 4 guys that I had seen film on. I did watch Ivan too, but
stud,
yeah, he's really good. He's really good. I thought he was going to be a converted tight end, truthfully. I thought they were going to bulk him up, is what I thought. But
you never know what can happen on that. I think right now he's sticking to where he is, they actually have a little bit of depth in the tight end room that we obviously did not see last year. So not a huge need there for him to move. And I don't think they want him to move if he doesn't have to. But again, it's an embarrassment of riches in the wide receiver room too. But if I was to pick somebody out of the offense or just out of the position.
Offense, let's go your true freshman Hall of Famer. Your true freshman guy that's gonna really stand out and make an impact on offense.
I think it's Taylor Tatum. I think he's just a different animal. I think he's just a different kind of guy. You've seen guys like DeMarco Murray and guys like, Adrian Peterson that have stepped in, become just an immediate impact guy.
Yeah.
I think if Taylor Tatum starts getting real touches, gets into that rotation, it won't be long. It just won't be long. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like Florida last year with or 2 years ago with Johnson and ETN. ETN steps in as a freshman and he's just different. Just different.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't even really put your finger on what it is, right? And we always have Shawty Parker on the channel with us that he played at Georgia, and he played pretty much from his freshman year on. But he was like, some of those guys they eat up those little white lines faster than everybody else, and there's nothing else you really have to say.
Yep, for sure. Let's go ahead. We're gonna move on. let's go ahead and do our bets with Bet Us. This show is sponsored by Bet Us. Let me log in real fast. And we're gonna pick the game, Florida State,
Ooh.
Georgia Tech. Now with Bet Us, this is what you're getting. When you click the link in the description, you are getting 125% back on your first 3 deposits for $2,000. Yes, that's 125% back on your first 3 deposits for $2K. Smash that link in the description. Sign up. This is a betting service out there. They also have an online casino, ice hockey, baseball, soccer, the other football, if you like it, if you call it that. They have everything. Roulette, craps online. They have it all. Jason, how are you feeling about Florida State, Georgia Tech? Out of these odds, 10.5, money line negative 460, or the 55.5 over under. What are you thinking?
Man, I have a hard time thinking that Florida State, even though I've seen that line coming down a little bit, the 10.5, I don't know that they cover that. I think this might be a little bit better game than we're thinking, than they're giving them credit for. I probably would stay away from that one. Nah, I don't know. Maybe the
I like
over 55.5. I think maybe the over on that. I don't know.
You think you don't think the defense shows up week 0?
Oh, I guess it could. Usually you have that, but I'm telling you,
offenses usually start slower. Yeah.
It's like a 35-20. That's like a 35-28 game. You get that, you're going to be close to it. If you get them both over 30, you're already there. So I like that. I like the opportunity there. I'd probably go with the over. I don't know why.
Over.
It's just I want it. Yeah.
Jason's going with the over. All right. SMU, Nevada, minus 27, plus 27. SMU is on a Pony Express is in full-fledged roar right now. They're stampeding. You can either take the money line or you can take the over under. I like the over under. I think I'm going to take the over at 55 because I think SMU is going to hang a bunch of points on Nevada.
Brother, we've been talking about Rhett Lashley quite a bit as far as I think SMU is one of those teams that they call them a dark horse right now. I don't know that they're not one of the favorites in the ACC, even right out of the bat. Rhett Lashley's a great coach. They got a good quarterback. They got NIL money like nobody else. They could go into the league and not get paid for 10 years and they don't care.
Yep.
Wild. I think the over 50, over 55. I can't believe it's that low. I would take that one too.
Could SMU mess around and get into the college football playoffs in the next 5 years with their NILs? If everything stays the same,
year, they could get in there this year.
You think?
You win the ACC, or you are one of the 2 finalists for the ACC. I think probably only you get maybe 2 out of 1 of the other 2 conferences. So if we're talking the ACC and the Big 12, I think they're both leagues that you could kind of see them, cannibalizing each other a little bit. Yeah. But you're going to probably get 2 out of 1 league and maybe just 1 out of the other. I think that all they got to do is make that championship game.
All right, guys, go ahead, bang the overs. If we are wrong, it's okay because you have 125% back on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. They also have bet insurance, like I said. And if you want to bet golf, tennis, baseball, ice hockey, the other football, soccer, we have odd boosts, we have parlays, we have everything. We are thankful for Bet Us. Let's go ahead and get into the defensive side of the ball now that we've paid the bills. David Stone, 5-star. Number 4 defensive lineman, 17 nationally, 6'3", 283 out of IMG. Yes, I say state IMG because IMG is its own state, it feels like. So I know he's from Oklahoma, but I always put IMG when they go to IMG because it's its own thing. Guys, kid is unreal, but not my guy that think I'm going to make a big impact right away. Let's go ahead and get into that defensive side. David Stone, what do you think?
Love me some David Stone, man. Stoney is one, and that whole group that you had up there. I honestly, remember we talked about this a long time ago, but my favorite guy out of that whole group, and I don't know how much he's going to flash early on, but I still like him a lot. Nigel Smith. I don't know that it. I got to tell you, that's probably one of the deeper positions in which is for Oklahoma is really a hard thing to say because we haven't seen it very much lately in the last 10 or 15 years even. But I tell you, to me, and I know this is one that you're going to gobble this one right up. Jaden Jackson is that guy. He may start.
Let's hold off on that.
I'm telling you, I'm not.
I know. I told you right away. I texted you when you got him. I said you got a guy, and you said who? And I said this Jaden Jackson out of IMG. I say he's just special to me. And you said, well, I don't know. Like I don't know about a true freshman taking over that nose position.
I don't think anybody expected that to happen, though. No, I mean, DJ Terry's a real senior who's been in the SEC since he got into college football. But and make no mistake, that entire defensive interior is insane good. If Oklahoma's going to get to where they want to get, it's going to have a lot to do with that interior right there because they're running a nice rotation of 6 and 7 guys easy. Stone and Jackson have a big part of that. But we listen to Teddy. If you listen to Teddy Lehman, who's one of the all-time great Oklahoma Sooner defensive players, who's, Oklahoma Breakdown, he's on KRF radio. You listen to him all the time. Or that may be the wrong radio station. I apologize if it is, but he talks about it all the time. He has Jaden Jackson as a starter right off the bat. Now, again, with defensive linemen, does it matter if they're starters or if they're in their rotation? Probably not. But it means something if you're a true freshman coming in and winning that position, right? Because there's something to be said for that as a true freshman in the SEC.
For sure. And guys, I don't know why I didn't save. I have his Jaden Jackson's body weight wrong. He is not 190. I think he's
not 190.
No, he's 290. My bad.
That's one leg, bro.
Yeah. So he's a big guy. But let's go ahead. We're gonna get to Jaden. I left him last because I gotta say where I'm right.
Sorry.
Reggie Powers III. I did a little bit of snooping around OU banter and making some plays. The safety DB is maybe big nickel. I don't know exactly where they're going to stick him, but making some plays.
Reggie's another one of those. Look, the safety room and really even the entire secondary, another big reason that you expect this defense to be one of the best in the country. Along with Reggie Powers, you've got Michael Boganowski, who everybody is raving about right now. These are two guys that the boogeyman, and they call Reggie Fright Night. That's Michael Boganowski's dad's nickname for the duo is Fright Night. Boogeyman and Fright Night is what he calls them. So it's hilarious stuff. But they're killers, man. These guys are just going to come down. They're doing this to their own teammates, just knocking them out. They love to bring the heat. They like to play with violence. They understand the position. We talked a lot about like where Oklahoma was when this coaching staff got there. They were just not good. They were just not good defensively, right?
They're soft.
They were flat out soft.
Yeah.
Now the floor and the ceiling is different everywhere. Yeah. You talked about guys like Jeremiah Newcomb. That's Bobby Newcomb's son. Bobby Newcomb, Nebraska fame, early 2000s, unbelievable player. His son is a corner. He's going to get a lot of run as a freshman cornerback. Not only that, Peyton Bowen, who was a 5-star from a couple of years ago, you're going to see a ton of him in that. He's a borderline starter, if not a bona fide
super
star.
Fast.
Unbelievable player, right? We've seen some great stuff. Look, there's other guys that are freshmen that are going to get a lot of playing time too. But his little brother, Eli, he may be on the field just as much as big brother. He's that guy in the slot that you're not going to shake him. He's the all-time leader in Denton Guyer history of interceptions, and they barely threw at him as a senior. Barely threw at him at all. Again, if Oklahoma's going to get to where they want to get, it's going to be on the heels of this secondary right here and this defensive line, the defense overall. They have to be that good because, whatever questions people think you have about the offense at Oklahoma, most Oklahoma fans don't worry about the offense too much. They're going to do what they do. But if you can lean on your defense and Jackson Arnold doesn't have to come out there and win a Heisman Trophy, that's a good thing. You know, if he can go out there and be even just kind of middle of the pack in the SEC, that means that this defense is that good, right? I think that you'll probably end up seeing more of him on the outside. They're stupid deep there too, you know, on that defensive line, ridiculously deep. So we're talking about a rotation of 11, 12, 13 guys throughout the 4 spots, you know, so it's exciting, man. It's really exciting to really be talking defense and not just be, you know, wishing that they were going to be good on defense.
For sure. You know, when you say that those kids bring the boom, it's like Florida, and I'm going to bring them up because I'm a Florida fan, but we get Asa Turner out of Washington. And Eugene Wilson, the star wide receiver, says when that kid is lined up against me, I put my fucking mouthpiece in because I'm in for a day. Like I'm putting my mouthpiece in because he's going to rock me on a slant. If I see him on the field, mouthpiece is going in. It's, you know, you can't, it's genetic. It's just bred in you to be a hitter like that. And unfortunately with college football and the NFL, they're trying to take as much away from that as you can. But when you got guys like that can bring fear across the middle, it's still good to have. And it seems like both of those kids, Boganowski and Powers the third are those hitting type. Let's go ahead and
they enjoy that hitting. There's some of those guys that are just that way. You know what I mean? That they get off on knocking people out. I love it. It's been a while.
Let's go ahead and get into Nigel Smith II. Now, 4-star, 28, long, lengthy. I wasn't sure if he was going to make a giant impact with him being so long and lengthy. I thought he was going to have to add on weight his freshman year before he saw a big impact. Is that kind of what we're feeling like? Or do you think we can get him in?
He's always been kind of a hybrid guy. I think right now you see him as more, if he's going to make an impact, he's going to stand up. He might be at the end of the line. You can move him around a little bit. His versatility is what's good about him. I think one of the guys that you're probably going to see that's going to make an impact because he's just that athletic and he's freaking people out is Danny Okoye. On the
yes, they're killing me in the thing. Yes, I left off Okoye. I'm sorry, I only had 4 slots. Okay, guys.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about him.
We're gonna talk about all of them anyway, guys. Y'all relax on the professor, fellas. Come on now.
I had 4 slots.
Yeah, and look, he's gonna be that guy that's probably, if you were to bet on who's gonna get in there more early on, it's probably gonna be Danny Okoye. But I would tell you that Nigel is still one of those guys that he's flashed a lot. It's a good thing when you don't have to depend on these guys to step in and be big time right away. They can work their way in. I would tell you that Nigel's been on my show before, and he talked about not really wanting to be that 300-pound guy. I think his comp has always been, well, who's the guy of the Texas A&M that he's still really good? Cleveland Browns.
You could be a Jadarius Perkins too from LSU.
Another one. Yes, that's a good one. So he's
Daniil Hunter only bulked up when he got to the NFL. He was a stand-up outside linebacker on that, a blitz end or a jack or whatever you call it. It depends what front you're running. Yeah. No, yeah. And that's the way I see him.
Yeah. We're talking about Myles Garrett is the name I was looking for. And thank you, Mars Jam. She's the man. Benji's busting my balls too. So relax, Benji. But we're talking about Myles Garrett, and that's always kind of been his comp. He didn't expect to really ever get any bigger. At least is what he told us, is he didn't really want to be that guy that was a 300-pounder. You're probably going to see him closer to that 260, 270 range. I think that's where he's at. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the rotation some. I just don't know how big a part he's going to play as a freshman. But when you look at a guy like Danny Okoye, he was really underappreciated as a recruit, I think, because he played in a smaller school, stuff like that. Homeschool league. That kind of, yeah. But he also went to the Alabama camp and was the MVP for that camp. They wanted him really bad. He's explosive in a different way. And it's just, I don't think that he's going to end up in the game, not because he knows the position really well, because he probably doesn't know what he's doing at all, but they're probably going to stick him in there on third down and be like, just go kill somebody. Just go hit the quarterback, get us off the field. I think that's what you expect out of him. He's just that kind of athlete. But yeah, I think Nigel's really good in that situation. But yeah, the freshmen, they just kind of keep showing up in all these little spots, right? That you just expect to see something out of them.
For sure. Let's go ahead and get into my guy. A 3-star when I reviewed him. He was like the 59th ranked defensive lineman, 190 nationally. He's 6'2". He's over 300 pounds. Sorry for the weight. It didn't save. Out of IMG, Jaden Jackson, a kid that I texted you right away before I even sent the video out and said, you got one. You got a guy. And we texted back and forth about him. You're like, I don't know. Position room is really deep. I said he's going to start as a freshman. Quote it. Go ahead, bookmark it, whatever on Twitter. I've been banging on the drum for Jaden Jackson for what, 9 months now?
A year. Yeah, you've been on him for a year.
Sure. And OU, if OU watches this and sees me, go ahead. Link is in the description. Go ahead, shoot me a recruiting job. I can find him because I saw this kid absolutely flash at IMG, one of the toughest competition schedules out there, and just eat people up. And I said, he reminds me of a 1990s neck roll nose, but with a hybrid of like Aaron Donald because of the push and the strength, the bull rush. He puts those centers and offensive guards right in the quarterback's lap. They can't stand it. This kid is
too, man. You talked about that
hand fighting is elite. So good. Burst, flexibility, can pass rush, can stop the run. He is probably going to be a day one NFL pick like the kid out of Georgia before he got in trouble, Carter.
Yeah,
I think he's better than Carter right now.
Brother, he's one of those guys that I wonder what the hell were they looking at. We're talking about IMG. He played.
I'm going to tell you.
Number one.
I'm going to tell you what they're looking at. They see David Stone on the outside, and they just
make no mistake about it. Stoney's also a stud. Yeah,
Stoney's a stud, but they thought that Jaden wasn't it because Stoney's on the outside there, and it's IMG. The whole line's talented. They're not really going to do anything. He's taking reps away from a senior, and I called it right away. And I beat at the drum for this kid. This kid is absolutely incredible.
They're both already too deep, by the way. Either way, they're both in the too deep at their respective position. They are.
But for a freshman to start in the
SEC, ranked number 400. He was ranked 400 when he first committed to Oklahoma.
That's when I reviewed him.
Yeah, and we're talking about a guy that was right next to David Stone, and you had him ranked 400. You watched his film; they both dominated. Game after game after game after game. If you were double teaming one, the other one was killing you. Period. It amazed me that he was ranked that low. Unbelievable. Now he moved up as the year went on, but you were right. You said it first time we talked. We were talking about Stoney. You're like, yeah, he ain't the best guy. You said it right away. And nothing against David Stone. We love David Stone. I think he was the most important recruit in this class. He was that guy that once he signed, you saw all the chips falling that way.
Yeah,
you had to have him. But dude, Jaden Jackson is that guy. He's just a different animal, man. And you had it. You were saying it right away. Amazing.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but golly, I saw him and I was like this, like everybody. Mm-hmm. I screamed at On3 and 247. I say he's criminally underrated.
Criminally. Mm-hmm. Only Kuno's got it right too. Is that high football IQ? Just that, yeah. They talked a lot about how smart he is as a player, instinctual. But that the hand fighting is where you see it's elite. He does it different than everybody else, but he's just got that violent streak. If you can stop this guy, I don't care if you're a senior in the SEC, you're gonna give these guys. They're gonna give them hell with this kid,
for sure. And that I'm gonna tell you this: he's gonna be a first round pick, barring injury or something crazy. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to go to a team like the Eagles or somebody like that, Cleveland, and they're going to, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. We can bookmark that too. I really don't care. if you said, Cody, bet your check on Jaden Jackson's performance as a freshman in the SEC, does he make the All-American list? I'll bet it all day long. I'll bet my entire check for the whole year. I don't care.
I'll put mine behind it. Yeah,
it's one of those things when you believe in a guy like this, barring injury, you see him and he's just so good. And it's frustrating.
All you gotta do is watch film. It's not that hard, guys. I mean, we talked about like these recruiting numbers and stuff like that, and so many people get caught up in the stars. With a guy like this, there's no minutia and little weird things you got to look at or context that you got to that watch them in. They pop off the screen different.
Yeah, for sure. That kid is something different. I just didn't understand. Even so, at the end of it, let's go ahead and check it out. This is the very end at 247. Still highly underranked. Highly underranked. The 29th ranked interior defensive lineman in the nation.
If there's
190 nationally.
I want to know who it is. I want to know who it is.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a nose guard that or a true nose that's going to make a bigger impact this year.
Yeah, I don't see it. I can't imagine anybody that's a true freshman that will be able to make that kind of impact. Now, whether or not maybe they've got guys in front of them, but look, DeJoun Terry, by all intents and purposes, nobody has expected him to give up. He was already the starter this past year. He was very good. He got better. There's no reason he should not be the starter this year. That's how elite this kid is. And it's nothing against DJ Terry. Nothing at all. It's just, this is just another dude, man.
Do you think he knew right away when Jaden got up?
I think they all did. They all did. You know, somebody that we hadn't talked about because we're talking freshmen today. You know, Dominic Williams, the key transfer ad for the summer. He talked about both Stoney and Jackson went after he got there. The first time he actually spoke to the media, first thing he said was, "These freshmen are different. These guys are different." He goes, "I know we're going to all have to learn the playbook a little more and that kind of stuff," because he's a little behind too, coming from TCU.
Yeah.
But he was like, these guys are unbelievable. They're going to be pushing for snaps very early on. And that's the only guy that you're seeing David Stone behind whatsoever. So again, as much as I love Jaden, and I'm not, and I think you're right. I think he's the number one guy when it comes to that. And he's my number one guy as far as freshmen are concerned. But I would tell you that Stoney is right there too. He's in that too deep. He's behind another freak athlete in Dominic Williams that there was a lot of teams in the SEC and throughout the country that really wanted to get their hands on him. That's the only guy that is in front of David Stone at the other position too.
Everybody's saying Miami probably has the best defensive line, one of the best defensive lines and rotations in the nation. I think that's way off. I think OU is probably, when you have some of the guys that have been there for a while, plus these young kids, I think they have the most fruitful defensive line in the nation. I think they're going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems with that defensive line, and they're deep. They have everybody from David Stone to Okanoa to Smith that can stand up, Jackson, plus all the kids that they have, their sophomore, junior, and then you have senior kids also, plus the transfers. I think the defensive line is probably one of the best in the nation. And, Venable knows it's, as a defensive coach, like the New York Jets defensive or head coach says, we go as they go. We go as the defensive line goes. When they don't play good, it's not a good game.
Yeah, no doubt. And, just I wanted to kind of address what Benji's talking about. He's saying that, he had 2 tackles against Texas, talking about Dominic Williams. You're lacking in brain power right now when you say stuff like that. When you have one guy on the D line, you can scheme him right out of it. You can double team him and take him out of it. Guess what? There's nowhere to hide from this defensive line. Go ahead and try to scheme one guy out of that. See how that works out for you.
It's not going to be good.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of, we've talked about it before on the channel, guys. You got to come with a little more than just one little simple variable. There's a lot more to it. Sometimes there's more to football than just the stat line.
For sure. And so they slide a guard over to help with the center with Jaden Jackson. Then you're leaving a stunt open You're leaving a blitzing lane open.
Yeah.
You're leaving Stoney to go, that cross inside move that he loves so much. He'll fake outside, hand swipe inside, and drive in on the ball and get to the quarterback. It's a nightmare with this defensive line. Probably the best 8 defensive linemen in the nation, I would say, with the rotation that they have, with young guys, with older guys, with transfers. And it makes when these older guys say, hey, these freshmen are the real deal, what that does is it elevates your room to a point where if I'm nagging a little injury, if my ankle hurts, I don't want to go out. I'm not sitting out because I have a guy like Jaden Jackson or Stoney breathing down my neck. I can't. I got to
Definitely.
go and play, and I got to perform, and I got to perform every single snap, because if I take a snap off and Nick catches it on film and coach catches it on film, then I'm with the second team now. And that's what this brings to the Oklahoma defensive line.
No doubt. And I think you're right. That's what what I'm getting at, is that there's a lot of ways that you can look at these D-line guys and realize that you're going to be in trouble. We didn't really talk about the edge guys. They're just as deep. They're just as deep. And we also, another guy that we didn't really talk about was G-Baby. Dude, this is another guy that if you slide over and try to double team or chip against that other guy, you're going to leave an opening for your quarterback that he's not going to be happy about,
Yeah.
because he's going to get, these are guys that are going to get in there, put pressure. And again, you have to win in the trenches. So it's one thing to have one guy. I think a lot of teams have one guy. It's not hard to do that. That's one of the things that Nigel Smith talked about on our show when he was with us, was like, yeah, I want to go with somebody else, because it's easy to scheme one guy out. If you've got one dude that's that guy, they're going to find a way to scheme you out. And I think that that's what you saw with Dominic Williams last year at TCU, was that he wasn't sneaking up on anybody anymore. He didn't really have any running mates. He needed to probably take a step and get out of there and get an opportunity on a better overall front.
I think that's why they call it the sophomore slump. Like with Jadarius Perkins, they did some things with him at LSU, and he just wasn't as effective. Well, because teams are scheming up against him. They're like, oh, we saw him his freshman year. That kid's a freak. Yeah, we're scheming up against him. We'll make somebody else beat us. Oh, they don't have anybody else to beat us on the defensive line. So we'll just scheme up Perkins, and that's what the sophomore slump is. You can really come in your freshman year and create havoc. The question is, can you do it the sophomore year when they start scheming up against you, your junior year and senior year? And what makes great teams great is when they can't scheme it up against you, because you scheme it up against this kid, and now you have this guy blowing through the hole. But guys, we are going to go ahead and close this up. 43 minutes strong, 53 watching. I appreciate it. Welcome to the SEC Oklahoma. Can't wait to watch some of those games. I'm a little upset we're not going to see a Florida-Oklahoma game for 3 years. It's upsetting, but it is what it is. Thank you, Jason, for coming on. Go ahead, check him out. If you're here with the Hightop Sports Recruiting Channel, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe. We do Oklahoma stuff all the time. I do film breakdowns on all these kids. I was one of the ones, I'm going to toot my own horn again, I was one of the ones that saw Jaden Jackson before everybody else. Just going to say it. So,
Hey, they don't call him the professor for nothing. He gets it. He sees things that nobody else sees. If you're not watching this channel, if you're a recruiting person and you're not watching this channel, do you know what you're missing out on? Just watching him watch film. The professor right here. Make sure you're over here watching this guy. It doesn't matter who he might be looking at that day and where they may be going. It's entertainment, pure entertainment, guys.
Mizzou this week. We are on a Mizzou bender. So if you want to see what Missouri is bringing in, go ahead, check it out. Not the Fauci professor, the other professor. Guys, I am so appreciative of you guys for hanging out. Jason, thank you. Everybody knows where to get you from, but go ahead, shout out all your stuff.
Well, I know we didn't really talk about this yet, but I'll be moving on to a new channel coming up this next week. As a matter of fact, it's called Conference Call College Football. You're going to be seeing me over there. The channel's not necessarily going away. It's kind of take over a different part, but you will still be able to catch me at Hall of Fame Sooners as well. But moving on, and gotten a good opportunity to grow this platform with just some amazing other creators, man. We're going to be doing a lot more work with you guys too. So it's exciting.
For sure. Jason will be on the Hightop Game Day shows for sure. We will have him on. I think we got you
Tomorrow.
slated up
I'm in there
tomorrow.
in the morning.
Week 0. No games on for Oklahoma or Florida, but we will have him on week 0. We will be talking Florida State, Georgia Tech, and all the other crazy games. Can't wait to have you guys on. I love you guys. I appreciate you. But you know who else I appreciate? Our sponsor, powered by BetUS. I love you guys. Thanks for the check. Hey, listen, if you're into gambling, go ahead, click the link because you get 125% off for 3 deposits up to $2K. I appreciate it, guys. We are out. And I was again right about Jaden Jackson.